Welcome, everybody, to another live and exciting, just non-emotional. I'm going to say non-emotional. No, it is. I get emotional. I love helping people prep. This is Prepper Talk Radio. Welcome to the podcast for the prepared. This is our weekly live. Guys, I am just grateful that the effort that we've been putting into this it's almost 7 years is helping people. I absolutely love it. The audience that we've garnered over the years, you guys listening live, as well as you guys listening on the replay and the podcast. Thank you for being part of the Prepper Talk Radio family. We have this month is National Preparedness Month. And for those of us who've been prepping a while, it's kind of like me, because every day is a personal preparedness day, right? We think of things, we track things, we watch deals, we look for ways to always stay prepared and to reinforce whenever we can. It's a great month to do that. There's great deals going on all over the web, particularly at our friends over at amp-3.net. Best first aid kits. They're American made, fantastic quality, good Patriot company. And on top of that, go check out our friends over at survivalfrog.com. Both of those places, if you use the promo code PrepperTalk, are going to save you big discounts this month. So make sure you head on over there. That's amp-3.net for all of your first aid gear, and over to survivalfrog.com for some cool emergency food, as well as other cool gear. Now, tonight, we're going to get a little bit wild and crazy. If you've seen the graphic for tonight, it's the untethering of the apocalypse. It's live version of sweet shenanigans. We're going to get into some popular prepping questions that we've pulled from the web, from our group, and some of the other groups we're in over the last week, and get real with you. How you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Good.
You know, like you're saying, Scott, is one thing I've noticed a lot lately, or more than the last couple of years at least, are the sales that are going on out there. The last few years, it's like just everybody had money, and so they were just out spending, and so there are no sales. Mm-hmm. Now I'm seeing some good sales out there, so hopefully y'all can take advantage of those.
Yeah, incentivizing people to come buy.
Yeah, that's a good sign and a bad sign. Good sign, take advantage of a bad sign. Economy's not doing so great,
right? You gotta strike while the iron is hot, so to speak. Well, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a fun episode. Yes, go get the deals. Yes, go get better prepared. We've dropped some really cool stuff on the website. If you haven't been over to preppertalkradio.com, I was actually just talking to somebody recently who just barely went. I told them it was updated a while ago, and they just went there like, wow, there's a lot of cool stuff on here. There's some new stuff. And it was kind of a shock to them. I'm pretty stoked that they were excited about it. I put in a few hundred hours redoing the entire website. And we've got some new email automations that are going to send you preparedness weekly. Tips to help you get prepared, things that can definitely help you get the right things focused first. Whether you're a brand new prepper or you're experienced, go join the newsletter because that's got some really, really fantastic stuff we've all worked on together that I've then put out to you. But we've got all our resources. We've got links to our group, links to some different challenges. And of course, we just dropped our book. You can now get a signed copy if you go to preppertalkradio.com. Little brag moment. Free shipping. Go check it out. Ready Radius. We're also on Amazon. If you want to get it quicker without a signature, you can do that too. But just come get it from us. It's more fun that way. So, Q&A. Apocalypse Unplugged. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
WebDad says he is free. He's here for the free apocalypse. You make sure you use the code PrepperTalk at checkout to get that. So one of the biggest questions.
Well, it was just interesting because I was at church on Sunday and they were talking about, the end of the world apocalypse, like last days kind of things. And it was almost like the apocalypse, is out there in the future still. And when you recognize the definition of apocalypse, it's the revealing of it's right now. We're in the middle of it happening right now. And so of course, there's more to come. There's always going to be some exciting things more to come according to the scriptures. But I think we're really genuinely involved in an apocalypse as things are revealed more and more. not to get too deep into the weeds, but I think I just shared a video today about Scott and Shane about how there's the things that they're finding out about the assassination attempt on former President Trump, and how that was just such a debacle. More and more revealing, more and more stuff's coming out about that kind of thing and everything else that's happening in and those types of things. So it's important, I think, that we stay aware and stay awake, because it's happening more and more. We're getting some revelations coming. I don't know if you guys have some questions, but one of the questions that I thought of was a fill in the blank question. And it's, the most important skill for survival is blank. What do you guys think?
The most important survival skill?
A skill for survival, not the most important survival skill, the most important skill for survival.
Okay.
Right? That's a different question, if you ask me.
Yeah, okay. That's true. That's true.
That is true.
Persistence, at least along that line.
Okay. How is that a skill? That seems more like a mindset.
Well, it definitely takes, well, it's a mindset, but it definitely takes practice, right? To be persistent, to be consistent, to be, what's the other word I'm looking for? My dad had a saying on his wall that was always there: to be successful, persistent, consistent, and concentrated efforts. That's what was on his wall. Adaptation. I like that one, Mike.
Yeah, Utah Mike says adaptation.
Definitely.
I would have to say DIY.
Okay.
Like the ability to do things, like build things, do
Jack
things
of all
yourself.
trades.
Like, and it kind of coupled with creativity, right? Necessity is what triggers a lot of people to get creative and actually build something. Right? It's the factory where new products come from, new solutions come from. Like, man, I got this problem. How do I fix this? Okay, you start thinking about it, come up with a solution, try it, test it out, and do it. I think it kind of falls in line with persistence too, but it's like it's that creativity side of resilience. It's that creativity, ingenuity of building and of creating. I think that for survival, I think that's probably the most important thing, is just that creativity to rebuild, to create, to make a solution for the problem that you're encountering.
Yeah, no doubt. Rebecca says that too. Resiliency. That's good. WebDad says confidence.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think that's true, because most of the time you can have a physical skill set like first aid or fire starting or food preparation. However, if you're not mentally tough and you don't have that resilience to believe that you can survive, and I think there's a skill in that too, like having a belief that you can make it and you can do it, and whatever life throws at you, you can survive through it. I feel like that's actually a pretty important skill to learn, and that's not necessarily a physical skill as much as it is like a mental skill, because if you just give up and you don't have the creativity and the resiliency and the confidence, and you just give up, it doesn't matter if you could be the world's best surgeon and you're not going to survive, because you don't have the mental fortitude and mental toughness to get yourself through it. So
yeah, and I think part of that is putting yourself out in those situations and learning how you react to those situations. For a simple example, climbing a mountain, hiking a mountain. It's when it gets hard, do you turn around, or you just keep pushing through? It's the Goggins, David Goggins, his mindset, right? That is not nearly as easy as it sounds. It doesn't sound easy, so I don't know why I said that. But
I don't think that's right, though.
Yeah,
because Goggins is like, give me the worst possible scenario.
No, he's extreme, definitely, no doubt.
Like, he doesn't want to prepare or plan for, like, his first 100-mile run he did was like,
yeah,
he almost did no planning. He's just like, okay, let's do this. And he's tough enough that
he wasn't at the time. Yeah, he about killed himself, it seems like. But
like, mentally though, he would have kept going if his body would have let him.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing. But that's a great point.
Well, I'm gonna say, post up Rebecca's here. Exactly what Paris said. I agree. Of course, I'm biased. Exactly what I said. See, I have somebody here in writing that says exactly what Paris said.
Paris.
Well, that's
I'm
you're
gonna
a father
screenshot
of
this right
6
here.
kids. You need that validation because
Web
they
dad,
won't do it.
90% of survival is mental. Mindset
100%.
is the number one important skill
Yeah.
you must have. Absolutely. Thanks, Practical.
So here's the mindset. Something I wanted to bring up right at the very beginning is keep in mind that on August 29th at 2:14 a.m., 2024, AI became self-aware, according to the movie Terminator 2, right? So just thought I would bring that up. And so you have that on your mind.
Way to
Interesting.
go, Cyberdyne.
Yes,
So
Cyberdyne
that was in the movie though, right?
Yes.
You're saying? Okay.
That was the date in the movie, August 29th, 2:14 a.m.
That was just a
So
few days
now we
ago.
know. Yes. So eyes open. So,
Yeah.
when you posted this this video, I like how I'm talking to you, Scott, is the apocalypse free for all, most popular preparedness questions. What I see an awful lot. I got a list here of things that I see all the time, and they're pretty generic, pretty general questions. And the question I probably see the most is when, the question when, right? And that can apply to a lot of different things. When is it going to happen? When this, when that? And of course, my number 2, 3, 4 go along those same lines. But the question is when. And I think there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, we've got lots of time. I know parachute tend to be on that, and maybe not lots of time. You got more time than some may think, like me. And some say, oh, it could happen tomorrow, which, I'm in that camp, right? So that's the question I hear all the time is when is this going to happen? JR, already happened. And to a certain point, yeah, absolutely. A lot of this stuff, if you don't see it yourself, how do you know it happened or not? Right, JR? I mean, a lot of this stuff happens behind the scenes and we don't see it until years later. And then we recognize, oh, look, that happened.
Well, like look at each of us. Like we all became aware at different times in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone listening and everyone participating in the chat, like you've all become aware of what's going on at different times in your lives and immediately, hopefully, started taking action to become more self-reliant and become more aware and try to help others, right? We all kind of go through that panic mode at first. We're like, oh crap. Oh, oh no, the sky's falling. Well, part of the sky already fell, right? The sky is always continually falling. That's part of life because there are disasters. There's the apocalypse. There's the shenanigans of every neighbor named Karen who's always trying to get in your business, right? Like there's the HOAs. There's always something. A lot of times we don't know about it until after effects, and then we are dealing with the consequences of that something. Right now, most of us are dealing with the consequences of the somethings that have been going on. But it's important to note, don't go down and just die. Test your resilience, put together your plan, and start doing something. That's why we do the podcast, to try to help as many people as we can be aware, and get prepared. Or be prepared, right? Our goal is to be prepared. And I always say, and you'll see behind me, ready-minded. This is the podcast for the prepared, radio for the ready-minded, right? Because if you're not ready in your mind first, I think that's the number one thing. Like everyone should be focusing on getting their mind ready to deal with new trauma every day. Because if you're not, and everything comes as a surprise, how much time are you going to spend weeping and wailing and gnashing your teeth when you could have been better prepared? Actually just got a quote.
Do something about it.
Yeah, I got a quote that was just awesome. Let me pull this up. I've got it right here. It says, if you think the price of winning is too high, wait until you get the bill of regret. Let's apply that to prepping. If you think the price of prepping is too high, wait until you get the bill of regret. Oh, I wish I had more food storage. I wish I would have had a first aid kit. Remember, go to amp-3.net, get your first aid kit. Prep code, get a discount, right? Go start growing a garden now. Put up a greenhouse. If it's too late in your area to start gardening, put up a greenhouse. Start doing some winter gardening.
Yeah.
There's things you can do. Like, don't give up now. Don't say, well, it's too late, I can't do anything. Yeah, when the time for action is there, the time of preparation is past, but it doesn't mean you can't continue to carry on and do something, right?
Yeah, that's the thing too, is there's incremental progression, and the old adage of the old analogy of the frog in the boiling water, it turns up every couple of minutes, they turn up the heat. Well, that's, you could be aware at 110 degrees and it's not even 212 yet, but that's where it's boiling, and but they're going to 212, they're going to boil us. And so that's the thing I think, is that, when is now. When the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the next best time is right now. When's the best time to prepare for anything that's going to happen was already, but the next best time is now. So when, to me, is now. Let's just get ready, start preparing now, and then helping those around you in your sphere of influence, in your radius, get prepared as well, so that they can be ready in your radius and be ready radius.
Hint, hint.
Wink, wink.
For some people in my neighborhood, the feces hit the fan blades, this last couple of weeks with these floods. And so when you just never know when that might happen. If you're watchful and you're watching the weather and you're aware of your surroundings and where water might come from, and you understand there's a risk, you be prepared with some sandbags, and then the event may have happened, maybe not like you anticipated, but most likely you could divert that water around your house. So when is now, it's always. Especially if you're watching, and most people don't want to watch. They don't want to be the negative Nelly, right? They don't want to focus on the negative. And I get that. I totally understand that. But that's not what that's about, right? So
that's awesome. Let's jump into the next question, Paris. You got your list?
Well, there's a question right here. Practical popped a question for us. How many here have alternative means of transportation? Canoe, sled, cross-country skis, snowshoes? I think that's a really good question. What are other alternative means of transportation?
I think everybody should have a bicycle. And I think every household should have at least one kid carrier that you can attach to the bicycle, that you can also use as a scavenger trailer. Like I have two in my garage, and I double check the tires all the time just to make sure that they're ready to go, so I can just strap it on the back. I've got one kid that rides a bike. The other one, he'll end up being in there because he refuses. But like, we can put other stuff in there with him and get out of here if we have to, right? But I can continue to use the bicycles as my backup means of transportation, right? I wish I had horses. I wish I lived where I could have horses. But
then you got to have one for each member of your family, right? So
you can double pack.
And you could,
right? Not necessarily on a bike.
Well, and I mentioned here, I got the Yamaha TW 200. That's just a 2-seater. The wife's got a scooter, so we could kind of get everybody out here more easily than not. And then a couple of bikes, so we could manage that way. I mentioned before.
Good.
Yeah, that's what a TW 200. It's a dual sport motorcycle, dirt bike, street legal bike, and such. Carbureted, so it's not going to be affected by an EMP, right?
Nice.
But and then of course you got skateboards. I think those can come in. Skateboards. Yes, baby strollers, right?
Get the skateboard with the bigger wheels, because if there's an emergency, you don't want to pop some twig that flew off some tree and you
get a longboard
first into the.
Well, the other thing, so rollerblades, skateboards, I've actually been looking at fold up e-bikes, because I'm like, that would be so much just simpler, because you can drop it in a Faraday bag, put it in the back of your car, and it's only a little bit bigger than a regular fold up bike. And I'm like, then I just doubled my distance that I can go depending on my fitness level, right? And they're not that expensive. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll get one of those. But yeah, what are your other ways to get around?
Well, yeah, like WebDad posting. Okay, what are scenarios for bikes? I mean, that's a perfectly great question. Is when is it going to be safe to be on a bike? When will it not be safe to be on a bike? Obviously, winter. My family, we're not going to go out in the snow on our bikes, but at night, being quiet, potentially, having a plan of route you're going to take where you can get out very quietly. That's the benefit of having a pedal bike, right?
Yeah.
Is very quiet. But again, if you're bugging out, where are you going to go? You got to have those plans in place, right? Go ahead.
I like these two, like J.R. Henry, 6.5 diesel modified to burn grease, transmission fluid, used oil, right? There's a guy, I think he's in Wyoming, that has a channel that's all about that. His dirty pig, I think is what he calls his truck. But he burns everything you can burn and runs that thing and gets crazy good mileage, right? Learn a skill, right? Another good one from Practical over here, consider putting a conversion for propane on their vehicles. Right?
Does that propane only go with diesel? Practical? Is that diesel combination with propane, or is that a gas engine?
I've actually had family members convert their car over to propane from, I believe, they're regular
natural gas
vehicles.
Not natural gas?
Not propane. Yeah, natural gas. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
so JR said gas, propane in place of gas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, propane stores really nice. Obviously,
I think those bikes now that have those big fat tires, because those can really, you can do a little 4x4 on some of those bikes. So you want to have a good bike that has some of that ability.
Mountain bike.
I don't know if a high level road bike for street racing is gonna, like not street racing, but a 10 speed, 20 whatever speed that those aren't going to be as good in a terrain, but mountain bikes for sure.
I think you got to take into account whatever you have, someone's going to try and take it from you. So if you got a bike, if you got a motorcycle, and you're in the city and you're trying to get out and other people want to get out, good luck keeping that, So
yeah, you got to have protection.
Some speed comes with that, maybe some Mad Max additions. I mean, who knows? But
that's one thing. It's always cracked me up to watch Mad Max, because it's like, okay, yeah, they're in a desert wasteland, but they're all like wearing leather straps as opposed to like a fully clothed garments, right? And it's just like, what?
Yeah, you'd be sunburned.
Yeah, they'll be 3rd-degree burns by the time summer's over, right? Like it's just insanity. But like for my backup fuels, like I've converted, like I have very little gas laying around. I've got gas for the car. I've got a couple extra tanks of gas, but I rotate that throughout the year. And then I have tons of propane, because my generator, my barbecue, like those, and I've got a couple of home heaters, those all run off of propane, and a couple of those will run off of fuel or propane. So I'm like, I don't have to rotate the propane as much. I can just keep it and use it when I need it. And if I don't use it. Like,
yeah, propane stores a lot better than gas anyways.
Yeah. So one of my next questions on the list, if we want to go ahead and move on, is topic I hear all the time is how much? How much should I have of this, of that, ammo, food, gold, silver, fuel, cash, you name it. How much?
All of it. All of it.
Yeah. Yes. But how much? Yes. But how much? Can you have too much? Some things, yeah, I think you can have too much.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I mean, I could go on for hours on this topic, but.
Well, that's the thing in my mind, is that you can't spend all your money on preps, because then you don't live we still have to be alive and live and raise a family. And I feel like, anyways, that's my opinion, I believe. And so you got to have the balance of, what do I do to kind of enjoy my life, yet still be ready and prepared for whatever emergency might come. The thing about emergencies is they don't come. I mean, I suppose for some people they come every week. But for most people, it's like every couple months. So what do you do in the meantime? Between crises, you got to still have a regular life, so to speak. And so I would say that if you have enough to get you 3 or 4 months, and then maybe a year, then you're going to be okay. After that, you've got to figure out some skills to kind of be sustainable. So how much there's people that are hoarders, and it's like, man, you're so hyper focused in one area that to me, when somebody hyper focuses on something, there's a balance issue there. And there's usually something weird going on in their life. that
Yeah.
causes that. And so that's where I'm just like, hey, look, there's got to be some balance. And Scott, you shared with me earlier, I think we on a phone call, you and I were talking, and you said something about having faith to realize that, God's going to be able to take care of you. If you do your best, he'll pick up the rest. So I agree with that.
Well, and I think, you said the word, I think the key word there, balance, is going to be different for everybody, right? It's very individual. For me, balance is highly weighted to one side more than the other, more than yours, Paris, right?
Sure.
My balance is going to be, exactly. I'm going to be far more weighted to the, I don't know how to say it, the cautious side, especially financially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Paris, you're definitely more weighted, more balanced throughout the markets, with your investments and so forth. I'm far more to one side. So for me, that's balance. That's the only balance that exists for me, right? So that's definitely different for everybody.
Well, okay, so balance, like, yeah, yes and no. Like, you can't really balance anything, I don't think, because
Agreed.
all of
Yep.
life is pulling you in different directions all of the time. But you can always be making progress in important things, right? My wife loves to take 2 to 3 vacations a year. Sometimes we don't get any of those. Sometimes we take 6. It just depends, but they're usually just quick little vacations, but we always have, and I could show you my wall over here. Like, my goals for 2024, besides sell the house, right? Pay off some medical debt, buy a new Sequoia. I really want one for just personal reasons. But I've got buy more food storage. Like, it's on my goal every year. Oh, buy more food storage. But part of it is like we use it. So we're just recycling. We're like, okay, we're going to buy more, and then we keep using what we have and we keep replenishing, but then get a little more, right? As a person with ADHD, I'm going to go completely against what Paris just said on hyper focusing and tell you how fantastic it is to hyper focus in an area of prepping in spurts, because that's how ADHD people do it. I will hyper focus on security for a month and like knock out everything I needed for security. And then the next month I'll be so bored with security, I will hyper focus on water, and I'll be like, oh, what am I missing? And I'll check things. And it's like, I become a jack of all trades because of the hyper focus.
Well, I would argue that is a balance.
What's that?
I would argue that when you hyper focus and then move to the next topic, that is a way to balance. What I mentioned earlier was those people that are like hoarders, and they just like, they're always talking about guns and ammo. And like, bro, what about food storage? Or the guys that are always talking about food storage and they have no guns or ammo. Like, you have a balance, you hyper focus for 3 or 4 months, and then you move to the next hyper focus for 3 or 4 months. And so that actually creates a balance in the process of, I don't know. I guess we're getting into the weeds here.
No, that's a good point. Like, but yeah, if you're not sure where you should be, and you're like, okay, am I spending too much time on the wrong things, or do I have enough of something? I think one of the best ways to do this better is to kind of take it back a little bit and look at what have I got. And most people have never done that. They've never fully inventoried what they have. Raise your hand if you've done that.
Inventoried?
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people I talk to just don't. And I think if you inventory, then you know what you have, and it adjusts your focus so that you don't go overboard in one area. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's why I created the food storage calculator and the inventory tracker on our website, preppertalkradio.com, because like, that's what we use. And I'm like, man, my wife's like, you should just sell that to people. I'm like, no, I should just give it away. And so I'm like, we give it away because it's a great tool. But to go back on the vehicle thing, okay, yeah, I have a goal to buy a Sequoia, a newer one. But is it very fragile? Maybe. Depends on what happens. But all vehicles are fragile. Yeah, am I going to get a completely awesome all types of fuel burning diesel that I'm going to convert? That's on the project goal. That's on my 2025 list, because I also want to have a shop so I can process all my own fuels. Like, I want to go completely, and that'll be my thing. But then my wife's daily driver will be Sequoia. So just to clarify, because I did get called out in the chat. But yeah, I don't buy brand new either. I buy used. I always buy used. But I have also all the rest of my bases are covered right now.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca also agrees on the ADHD hyperfixation. It is a superpower, right? Lean into your superpowers to get better prepared. I'm telling you guys, there's some fantastic things you can be doing to get better prepared without getting fearful and without going overboard and becoming a hoarder.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, so that my next question on that same, although maybe it's your turn, Paris or Scott. I put up the last question, the how much question.
Well, you were saying it's on the same, so you might as well keep it going.
Okay, so going along the same lines is how? How is this going to happen? How is it going to hit the fan? I hear that all the time. How? And I mean, that's a huge topic. We could go on for hours with this one. And maybe we just skim across it and head to some other ones.
Well, the question I had actually is part of the how is what if the banks fold and our money has no value? What should we do?
Yep, that's the number one for me.
And that's a how. How are they going to collapse the system financially? That's one of the hows. Another how is the food supply. Another how is the water supply. Another how is, some, propaganda issues. But, sticking to that question is how are they going to do it? Well, one of the ways is a financial collapse. And if they fold the bank, and I don't know if you saw recently, I just was looking at the BRICS nations are really recruiting big. And there's some genuine concerns about those guys really establishing something that could really rival the dollar and take it out. And if that happens and our money has no value, what should we do? My first thought is one, what does money buy? Well, it buys food and water and gear. And so if you use the money you have now, instead of building up some fat savings account, which I highly recommend, by the way, fat savings accounts are a good thing in my opinion. However, if you instead of, get the food, get the things that you would use that money for and store that. And then of course, one of the next things after you have a good store of food and water and supplies is to get some way to protect it, guns and ammo and brass. And then the next precious metals, which are gold and silver, and start stacking some of that stuff, because that's definitely, you're going to get further with food and bartering, even bartering whatever item you might think. You may never even use it yourself, but that other people use certain things. Like I don't drink alcohol, but it would behoove me to get some alcohol in my stash to barter with people that do have alcohol that might have something that I would want. Does that make sense? So I would say if the dollar is going to fold and money has no value, what should you do? Well, you should have those things on hand so that, you're okay.
Yeah, the reason I was thinking financial is the biggest concern right now is obviously we always like to go back to the scriptures, right? The love of money is the root of all evil, right? And that is where I see all of our troubles, modern day troubles, start from, or continue to and get larger. I mean, obviously, look at the national debt. That is pure greed, is what that is. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get into that. I mean, that's a huge topic. But then I also have on the list everything you mentioned as well, Paris. It was a great list: food, water, war. Right now, that's that we are right now at a much worse condition than we were during the Cold War for a nuclear event of some kind. We are far worse off right now. It's far more possible for something like that to happen than ever in the history of this planet. And most people don't see that. I'm sure all of you see that, who are listening or watching, kind of understand that. Maybe not to the extent that maybe I do, but I think that is probably number 2 on my list next to financial, right? Go ahead.
Well, I think this fits right with what you're talking about. Both of you are talking about. WebDat says we need to develop a training aid such as a scenario flashcards. This would make you mentally work out the problems and determine if you're ready mentally and supply wise. I think that's a brilliant idea. Let's chat about that because we could you can get that.
The
pretty
conflicted
quick.
card games have done a pretty good job at that, but
Well,
there's
There's situational based most of the time, but not full
Got it.
scenario. And I think a full scenario flashcard system would be really beneficial. Like we've got an emergency planner in our resources free at preppertalkradio.com. But like I think the what that Shane's talking about right now, we're in a place in the world. The scripture said that before everything goes completely catastrophic, that there'll be wars and rumors of wars all over the world. Well, we're there, right?
Yeah.
Not all wars are hand to hand. There's digital wars going on. There's all kinds of stuff going on. But if I remember right, it also says that then there'll be pestilence and plagues and food shortages. Huh. Are those things happening already?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. And I think we're at a point where it's not going to be all of a sudden like one event triggers everything. I think it's just continually there's like already been a domino effect and it's already in motion. And that domino effect is going to branch off and there's going to be 4 or 5 different new routes of dominoes tumbling. And it's just going to exponentially get worse in all these categories.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I agree with Sandra. Like we're scripturally Matthew 24, like we are seeing things rolling out because we're aware. I just had this conversation a few weeks ago with a family member. He's like, I don't think we're anywhere close. I think we're still another 50 to 150 years. And I'm like, what? And he says he's the most aware of the world, right? And it's baffling to me because I'm like, you're smoking crack or something. I don't know what he's doing.
Denial.
Eating paint thinner as a supplement for his health benefits. I don't know what he's doing, but we who are on this chat right now, everyone live in here, like we're all paying attention to what's going on. And so we feel like it's not so much a what, it's all these what's, and it's not so much a when, it's keep watching. It's just going to, it's like watching a hurricane off the coast of Florida, starting off as a tropical storm, turning into a hurricane. Like we're seeing it coming because we're aware and we're prepared and preparing, we're continuing. And I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse until it gets better.
And that's, again, also turning to the scriptures is if you see the signs of spring coming or a fall coming, you'll know what the next events will be, right? I mean, it's pretty, again, if you're watching, and most people aren't watching, that you will see what's coming if you desire to believe, right? You have to believe in the scriptures and a lot of things, in that if you see the signs and you deny them, you're probably, what's the right word, Sam? I'm struggling with how to describe this. But if you see the signs and you deny them, you're denying, and I don't want to go the religious route. You're denying Christ. You're denying the gospel. You're denying truth. And those who deny it then don't see it any further. Maybe I went down the wrong pathway there, but.
Well, I think it goes down to I'm going to butcher this too, but it's easier to convince. It's easier to just lie to people and convince people of an untruth than it is to convince them that they've been lied to. Have you guys heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's where we are in the world. Like we've now been convinced that we were lied to, and the evidence points to the truth. And in preparedness and in the end of the world, like we know. And when I say end of the world, classify that end of the world as we know it, end of the current corruption systems, right? Moving back to the natural order of things. I am absolutely not shocked when I see the news. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
Right?
No, same. Yeah.
What I am shocked is I'm shocked by people who see the news, see what's going on in the world and still go, oh, we got 20, 30, 40, 50, 150 years to go. I'm not worried. Why do I need it? I'm like, I'm prepared for practical reasons. But the cool thing about all my practical preparedness is it's also pushing me towards resilience for the rest of my life. And hopefully it's teaching my kids to be more resilient. That's the biggest thing. I want them to be more resilient.
Yeah.
Not just, hey, we've got food storage, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically have the fortitude and strength to be able to stand and endure and just keep going and be like, okay, another trial, bring it on, right? It's that come what may and love it mindset. Not quite the let's go find the suck and deal and live in there all the time,
Right.
David Goggins, but
on purpose.
but
Yeah.
a apocalyptimist approach.
Yeah. Okay. So another question. Again, I'm hogging the time here. If you have one, Paris, or something, and maybe this is a good one to end on. Is another one I see all the time, and I don't want to go into politics, but the big question: who, right? Talked about when and how much and how. There's also why, and but who? The big question: who's going to save us from this, right? Who is, who should I vote for? Who this, who that? No, there's only one answer to that question. Well, there's two answers, but it is not the traditional air quotes process, in my opinion. Who is a big question nowadays, right?
Yeah, and right now we're in a huge fight with this political parties and an election year, and we're seeing people polarize. And I feel like we just get wrapped up in our guy or gal or whoever, and we don't see the bigger picture because we're just so hyper focused on November, the second Thursday of November, or is it the second Tuesday? Anyways, I don't remember, but we got to see the bigger picture here, and nobody's going to save. Like, for example, there's Build Back Better or Make America Great Again. Those are great things. I like those. That the principle and the concept of that is good. How we get there is where I feel like there's a huge bunch of like who's really in charge here, right? To me, I've just been thinking lately, and of course I'm biased because I'm kind of a financial guy, but I'm just like, how in the world are we supposed to make America great? How are we supposed to build anything great if half of America is head in the sand, on the hamster wheel of consumption, completely up in debt up to their eyeballs in consumer debts? And if they're not in consumer debt, then they're so excited about buying the next shiny object that comes out or gets, produced or put out there. And to me, it's like the best way to build a strong America is to have self-reliant people, like the civilian, the nation, the citizens of the nation. Like, we should get out of debt. We should build up our storehouses. We should have skill sets that are, marketable, and we should be, whether we're entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, we should have something that we can bring to the market and do well with and progress and continue to grow. And to me, I just feel like it's like a Potemkin village, it's like, it's all nice and great on the outside, but when you pull back the curtain, it's like decay, death, and destruction, and debt and servitude and slavery. And so it's like, I feel like credit cards were like one of the OG pandemics. Like like debt is a pandemic. Yeah. Some of those things that nobody ever thought about that before. Well, now that we're talking about pandemics, let's take a look at what some of them really are, Anyways, so I just feel like who is the PTB, right? The powers that be that are promoting and continuing to promote that consumption lifestyle, that everything's fine, everything's great, don't worry, don't look over here, just keep going. Anybody who promotes that is the who, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and I think what I meant by the topic is who do we rely on? Who's going to save us? Who's going to fix these problems? There's only two answers. It's ourselves, it's myself, and it's Christ. It's Jesus. Yeah. Those are the only two who are going to save us from this. And so, I don't like being political. I don't think that's going to make any difference nowadays. I think we're way too far down the road to make any difference or any kind of change and make America great again, any of that stuff. That I don't think any of that's going to happen. Only when Christ comes, and then between now and then, it's up to ourselves to make it happen. So that's what my response to that question is.
I'm in the same camp. The phrase, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Like,
absolutely.
If I want to get through this, I've got to do something about it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why you got to build good communities. Chapter 5 of Ready Radius addresses that. How to build a good community. Like, find out who around you is similarly minded. Right. Don't just go around saying, hey guys, I'm a prepper. Anybody else a prepper? That's just insanity. But find groups who have the same mindset as you, who want to have a better future. And a better future does not look the same as our current state of how we live. The supply chain and all those other factors that we're dealing with, that's not how we are supposed to be living. Right? We are supposed to eat by the sweat of our brow every day.
Agreed.
We're supposed to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that is so beneficial to you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and health-wise. It's fantastic. God created our entire system to benefit us, to bless us, and we have
To replenish.
run from it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Our good buddy J.R. Hendry, he's getting his phone's ringing off the hook because the soil is so bad in most of the United States. People are like, how do I fix it? How do I regenerate this soil so that it's actually healthy and growable? Well, it's the natural methods. It's the natural solutions. And so when you're thinking about your preps, when you're thinking about your plan for the future, look for natural, look for passive. And by passive, I mean where you're not, if you're looking for land, buy land with a spring, right? Don't find something you have to go find water and replenish, right? Look for and find and create solutions that benefit you, but that you still work, because that helps increase quality of life and longevity. But go back to if it's meant to be, or if I want to get through this, I've got to get through it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one last thought I wanted to make sure to share is that we talked about when, and that is the big question, right? I think just keep in mind the pattern that seems to always happen is that it's happens slowly and then all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly, then all of a sudden. And I think that will be the same. I think that is the plan. I think that is the method, that we will continually be worn down slowly and just ground down into submission, right? And to where it's like you just kind of give up, like, I can't take this anymore. And it's traumatic and it's hard to deal with. And that's where you kind of need that Goggins mentality, right? You just, and I say that quite loosely, but stick with it. And at the time, when those flash floods come, you'll be ready, right? You'll be ready.
Yep.
So have you guys ever seen those videos, those cat videos? And there's like always a video of a cat who's like sitting at the table and they're like tapping the drink closer and closer to the edge. Mm-hmm. And the owner's watching them. And then all of a sudden it knocks it over and the owner's like, hey, that's where we're
What did
living.
you expect?
And most of the world is the same as that owner. White had talked about it. It's like most people are voluntarily uninformed. They're watching everything happen and they're not doing anything about it because they're just not smart, right? They're just not aware enough that they have a voice and they can do something. They can actually create a better life. They can stop the cat. And that's how most disasters in our life come. It's consequences of our own behavior. And if we take action, it'd be better. That's I think the biggest question I get over and over and over is, where do I start? I'm new to prepping. What do I do? I'm seeing that more than I've ever seen it in social media. And it's funny because everybody seems to have a different camp that they fit in, saying, well, here's what you do first. And the biggest camp is get your food storage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's important. Yes, put it on the list. And then there's another camp that's like, you need to get out of society and go live in the woods. I would love to go do that, but the practicality of that in our current situation isn't feasible for most. If you can, run for it. # stop the cat. Thank you. But the other, like, honestly, to me, I get sick and tired of the question because you need to go and assess your situation before you take off into the world of prep and trying to get things figured out. Assess your situation, because we've spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. The combined three of us have spent tens of thousands of dollars buying stuff that we thought was great for prep and then realizing, oh, that wasn't the right thing to get, or I prioritized the wrong thing first. We've created guides on our website for you to help focus on them. But start with personal inventory of what you have, then jump into our guidebooks. What do I need to plan for? What are the things that are going to most likely hit my area or affect me, and plan for those things before you go spend a dime. This is all free. But start there and then build your resiliency off of the emergency rule of 3. Focus on skills, knowledge more than anything else. And as budget allows, start adding. And you talked about a fat bank account earlier, Paris. I like that idea. F is for food, A is for ammo, T is actually a plus sign, and that's for first aid. Get those 3 things first. And food, water's combined with food, but those 3 things first. Have that on home site, have that available where you live, and you're in a good situation.
Can you guys hear me even though I'm frozen?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
What a crazy picture to freeze on. Thanks, Rebecca. Oh man. Anyways, I just want to say thank you guys. I mean, it's fun to sit here and we, the 3 of us are having a conversation. We'll bring in some comments, but literally in the comments section, there's a whole conversation going that's separate even from what we're talking about. And I love it. Like there's a genuine community of people that have been built in our lives, not well in our lives, but also in our live as we, from 6 to 7 on Wednesdays. That's really just cool. I mean, you guys come in here, you know each other, you're all friends, and you just you tease each other and you have fun. And I'm just grateful for that. And so, if anything, the last question I would say is, what can we do to really prepare is the same thing that we're doing right now on this live is developing a community, getting to know one another, being kind to others, and just really having a good time and enjoying the moment that we're in. So anyways, that was cool. I think, I hopefully the recording will show me not stuck in that weird position, but we'll see.
Well, on the plus side, our AI deep fake doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not a fake Paris in the background doing this. And yeah.
Oh geez,
man, this is awesome. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in this week to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio. Hopefully we've answered some of your questions, given you some food for thought. I think the most important thing you can be doing is just keep moving forward with positivity. Be that apocalyptimist, as Shane likes to call it, and get things done. The more you can learn, the more you can be robust and resilient, the better quality of life you're going to have in all aspects, and the better prepared you're going to be for whatever comes. Any final thoughts before we end out the hour?
No, just a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys.
Yep.
Amen to that. You guys are a fantastic audience. Thank you for being part of the Prepper Talk community. Make sure you go check out preppertalkradio.com. Tons of new updates. Sign up for the newsletter. Go get our book. We'll be shipping those out next week. And we thank you for being part of the family. Until next time, keep that head on a swivel, stay ready-minded, and have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Grayman.
Yeah, thanks, Grayman.